cancer one patient at a time.
An historic election.
This is the most important election in our lifetime.
I feel so powerful, I'll walk into that audience.
A test for democracy.
The White House has really been transformed.
At a time like this,
a lot of enthusiasm.
A trusted voice.
A moment that's unlike any other.
Election 2020, a PBS NewsHour special.
Tonight at 6 on Arizona PBS.
Meet the primates, one remarkable family with many strategies for survival. Join us for nature's landmark 3-part series and discover how primates conquered the planet.
All new Wednesday night at 7 on Arizona PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
Just like our travels, PBS has given us a broader view of the world.
And that is why Larry and I have agreed to include our PBS station in my will.
For more information about including Arizona PBS in your future plans, visit azpbs.org/giving.
It's important to keep PBS alive, and this is one way that we can do our share.
There's never been a more important time to make sure facts and the truth are driving conversation. Washington Week is an island of civil discourse in a chaotic media environment. On Friday nights, we gather the best reporters in the nation to unpack what's really happening and have a conversation that's not about point of view, but about informing the American people.
Washington Week. All new Friday night at 7 on Arizona PBS. Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
The Persian Room. Travel to another world, to a land of exotic aromas and period decor for a fine dining experience. The Persian Room in North Scottsdale on Scottsdale Road, 1 light north of Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard. Gourmet exotic cuisine at its best.
Legacy Village Salt River is proud to support Arizona PBS. Opening in early fall with a new location in North Scottsdale, just off the 101 and Via de Ventura. Independent living, assisted living, and memory care. More info and tours at legacyvillagesaltriver.com or 480-527-2000.
Election 2020. All eyes are on Arizona today. Who will win the battleground state? We'll take you to the polls as voters make their voices heard.
Plus, from Flagstaff to Phoenix to Tucson, our crews are spread out and standing by to show you how the voting process is playing out so far.
And later this half hour, the Native American vote. We'll break down how the many struggles they faced throughout history could influence how they cast their ballots today.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Megan Marples.
And I'm Spencer Hardenberg. Thank you for joining us. After months of primaries and campaigning and with the backdrop of a global pandemic, the first results of the 2020 presidential election are now just hours away. We have the latest on this historic election day. President Trump spent the final hours of his re-election bid making 2 stops in Michigan, the finale of a frantic battleground sprint. Michigan is part of the Democratic blue wall the president breached in 2016.
Very much Grand Rapids, they're waging war on our police, you know that. Your police we have a lot of police here tonight, I recognize it.
Polls indicate the president will have a tougher time holding off former Vice President Joe Biden in several Rust Belt states. The Biden campaign were trying to swing Pennsylvania blue with stops yesterday, hoping to overcome Trump's strong base in rural areas.
Everybody knows who Donald Trump is. Let's show them who we are.
Meanwhile, Democrats are hoping to flip formerly reliable Republican strongholds like Georgia, Texas, and Arizona away from Trump's column tonight.
Cronkite News reporters traveled all around the state today talking to voters. We asked about their experience at the polls, as well as why they felt it was important to make their voice heard. Tonight, we start with Maricopa County, where Taylor Tasley-Oatley joins us with the wrap-up. Taylor?
Maricopa County headed to the polls early this morning to make sure their voices are heard in the election. The polls opened before the sun was up, and people were lined up ready to cast their ballot. This is a look at the line at Mesa Community College at Red Mountain. It is stretched down the street in the dark. Despite voting in every election he could, 76-year-old garage door worker David Osler never has seen a line this long. He says he was honored to see the hundreds in line to make their voices heard in such a critical time.
I see the values of America, what it stands for, and sometimes they're being lost, and we have to stand up for what we feel is the rights of America, and the rights of freedom, and the rights of choice, and the rights of honor, and the rights of respect.
Osler wasn't at all worried about voting in person despite the increase in COVID-19 cases across the country. Leslie Serrano was a little concerned. She brought 2 masks to the Glendale Community College polling location for extra protection. She says it was important for her to vote in person.
I used to be a Democrat, no more. I need to know our country is going to stay the United States of America.
At ASU's Tempe campus, some people were in line when the poll opened, but were able to quickly move through. Independent voter Derek Moon recently moved to Arizona and says he doesn't vote along party lines.
There was just kind of a gut feeling where it was trying to go with who I thought would be the best.
Kimmy Garado from Chandler also voted at ASU. She explains why she was determined to vote in this election.
I think this time is just important because I know it's so polarized, and I definitely want to see some changes happen.
In Scottsdale, the lines wrapped through the Old Town streets. Allison Deneve says she wanted to vote in person because she was concerned about the safety of mail-in ballots and likes to see everyone exercising their right to vote.
My husband did actually do the mail-in and he dropped it off. And the lines are really long, so it's probably worth it to do the mail-in, but I really like this aspect personally.
Throughout the day, most polling places throughout the county did not have lines. In the broadcast center, Taylor Tasley-Oatley, Cronkite News.
Millions of mail-in ballots are in the process of being counted here in Maricopa County. Faith Abercrombie joins us from the county's tabulation center with a look at how the process is going. Faith?
Right now, I'm inside the Maricopa County Election Department, where workers and tabulation machines are counting and reviewing votes. Ballots from polling sites are being tabulated there, then transported here in these boxes right behind me. The adjudication workers are reviewing any smudges or eligible write-ins or overvoting. Right now, we're waiting until about 8 p.m. hits, where those early ballot results will start to flow in. So far, the county has reported about 1.7 million verified signatures. The election department is sending voters emails and giving them phone calls to verify those unmatched signatures. In Phoenix, Faith Abercrombie, Cronkite News.
Thank you, Faith. And now we turn to Arizona's second most populated city, Tucson. We've got crews in Pima County to see how the election process is working there. And we start with Caroline Lynch, who checked in with voters in the Old Pueblo.
Yes, I have been in Tucson all morning, going to different polling places. Right now, we are currently at the Pascayaki Wellness Center right down in South Tucson. And as you can see here, it's pretty lively. There's been voters going back and forth all throughout the day, and there's even a live band set up just to get voters excited for election day.
The Pascayaki tribe in South Tucson has had a hard time getting their vote counted.
I know that the tribe went to court to try to establish our early voting sites, which was taken away.
The tribe only had 2 options: mail your vote in or come here today to vote. Although it has been difficult, the people here seem excited to get their vote in and see hope for their future.
Just as being a minority and being out in town and being scared. Worried for my kids, they look like a stereotype Native American, dark hair, dark skin, and being worried that if they're out on the street, they're going to get attacked just because of our skin color. So I think that's something that I've seen, and something that needs to be changed.
However, some of the polls near downtown Tucson were almost empty, and there were no lines at all.
Straightforward. I know where the voting station is, so I came here with my location and
give them an ID. And like I said, it's maybe about 5 minutes at most.
Although this may be mainly because of COVID-19, polling marshals say they are doing everything they can to make voters safe, which includes letting people even vote in their car. Those we talked to emphasized how important it is to be voting in the election this year.
I think the election this year is really important to all American citizens, anyone who wants a voice, either if you're a Democrat or Republican, it's just the voice of the people have to be heard.
Although most polling places have been pretty slow throughout the day, polling marshals do expect their areas to get busier as time goes on Election Day. In Tucson, Caroline Lynch, Cronkite News.
Pima County is also counting those mail-in ballots. Alex Gall joined us now to explain how things are working there. Alex?
Right behind me is the Pima County Elections Department headquarters, and right now behind me, it's going pretty slow at the moment. That's because Pima County is actually way ahead of the game in terms of counting their mail-in and absentee ballots. The county recorder here in the county tells us that already 400,000 ballots have been counted as of this morning.
One good caveat about the state of Arizona, we've been doing early voting by mail for over 2 decades. It's not something new to us. It's not something new to the citizens of the state. So they're comfortable with the means. But we as recorders are also comfortable with the operation because we have the rules in place, we have the technology, we're ready.
The county expects to start tabulating their in-person Election Day ballots later on this evening once polls close here in Pima County. We're in Tucson. Alex Gall, Cronkite News.
Thanks, Alex. We also traveled north to Flagstaff, where the low this morning was in the 30s, and there was even a slight drizzle, but that didn't deter voters. The Flagstaff Mall polling location opened to people already waiting in line. However, by 10 a.m., the rush had passed and voters were quickly able to cast their ballots.
I kind of expected like long lines and a big wait, but it went so smooth. I was in and out of there in like 15 minutes.
Eric Shriver had to register to vote in his hometown due to the pandemic, and he chose to vote in person today because he enjoys the excitement of on-site participation.
And now, as we know, 4 years ago, it was predicted to be a landslide for Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton. And of course, that was not the case. Now, Tyler Mannion looks at what changes from 4 years ago we might see and how they may affect this election. Go ahead, Tyler.
Hey guys, I'm over here at the 2016 map from the election. You're going to see a lot of different things. First, I want to point out you see a lot of red. Here's the thing though, Donald Trump only won 13 of the 100 most populated counties in America, and it still didn't matter. He still got the 306 electoral college votes. We're looking for 270. That's the magic number. Let me show you guys what the most important thing that happened is 2016. This is the most important thing that happened. The blue wall, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. You notice it's not blue, it's actually red. President Donald Trump split all of that, flipped it to red by just under 1% in all of those. Pennsylvania by 44,000 votes. Michigan by 0.2%. This was incredibly close back in 2016, and he's going to be trying to hold on to that this year. Let me show you what happens if that doesn't happen. If Joe Biden flips it back blue. Wisconsin, as we said, goes blue. We're looking for 270. Pennsylvania, and all three of those go blue. That in and of itself puts Joe Biden at 278, puts him in the White House instead of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, his path back to the White House to stay there is very slim. It's narrow. The margin for error is very small. Pennsylvania is going to be incredibly important. Then there's all these states, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Arizona. These are all incredibly important. He has to defend all of these just like he did in 2016 to stay in the White House for the next 4 years. Joe Biden, this is the easiest path. But if he gets any of those other ones, you could see him in the White House as well. Guys?
Great stuff, Tyler. Now you can count on Arizona PBS for your election night coverage. PBS NewsHour national coverage starts at 6 p.m. on PBS 8.1. After that, stay tuned for Arizona Horizon's local election coverage from 10 to 11 on 8.3. And then you can watch your Cronkite News election coverage from 7 to 8. And then Indian Country Today will provide coverage until 10 p.m.
Coming up next on Cronkite News, could a COVID storm be heading for Arizona? And if so, what could that mean for you?
The weather
Phoenix is just beautiful today. Let's take a look at the weather around the valley.
Thank you for joining us for the special edition of Cronkite News.
Here are the top stories that we're tracking today at noon.
Some of the best players for their program.
Hear them talking.
Lights up. Whoa.
As artists, we conduct our educations in public. You can never know whether it's going to be a success. One just has to risk it.
It's you and the work and the place. It's a very particular relationship.
Here's our lens. Tell us what you think.
Friday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
COVID-19 cases continue to rise. As of this morning, there have been more than 249,000 coronavirus cases and more than 6,000 deaths in the state of Arizona. The average number of new daily cases has surpassed 1,300. Last time the daily cases reached this high was in mid-July to early August. Last week, Governor Doug Ducey thanked Arizonans for weathering the storm so far, but warned a spike has not yet hit our state, but it is coming. At the same event, Department of Health Services Director Kara Christ said the agency is on high alert. She and Doug Ducey both urged people to continue wearing masks, physically distancing, and taking other measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Nationally, more than 61,000 children tested positive during the week that ended October 29th, according to a report from the American Academy of Pediatrics. It says that was the biggest increase in children's cases since the start of the pandemic. Some medical experts warn if this upward trend doesn't reverse soon, mandatory lockdowns may become necessary.
The Made with Love Market in Gilbert, Arizona is now open for business. The market is home to handmade goods by small business owners in the Maricopa County area. Now, the local market is helping small businesses recover from the pandemic.
I can't believe you're here. Supporting small businesses has been a general theme during the COVID-19 pandemic, and the Made with Love Market in Gilbert is doing just that. Bring it on. Yeah, bring it on. Co-founder of the market, Mary Beth Solvit, explains why she and her business partner decided to close earlier this year. She also shares her passion for opening the market back up.
At the time, in February, we just felt like it was the right thing to do with not knowing what this was, not knowing, the effects on children, on the community as a whole. And so we made a very early decision to postpone our event. This space at Santan Village, we felt best about. There is so much room, and we really felt like we could safely host this event and give our vendors a chance to showcase their products and sell and give the community a space that is fun and free and enjoyable to come out to.
With vendors collectively making anywhere between $35,000 and $55,000 each event, many small businesses like Cozy Knit Designs turned into an online business during the closure. Owner Amanda Archinick has more about her company.
I am lucky because I was able to offer people kits for online so they can learn online while they're at home during quarantine. So that was super nice. That kept me afloat. But it did, I don't want to say ruin, but it did take a lot of opportunities away during the pandemic, but I am still afloat.
Although the pandemic brought a lot of challenges to small business owners, the Made with Love Market continued to promote its vendors on their social media platforms. Owner of Modern Roots Kids Company, Jill Mancuso, shares how she's staying optimistic for the remainder of the year.
Now that the season's ramping up again, I think vendors and customers are both eager to kind of get back into the swing of things and show that small shop support. The pandemic, one good thing that came from it is it gave people more of an appreciation for small business and wanting to support local and help their community, which is what this market does.
The Made with Love Market plans on remaining open for the rest of the 2020 calendar year and is in the works of planning a Black Friday event for people to continue to shop local as well as staying safe during this holiday season.
The Made with Love Market is open every Saturday from 8 a.m. to noon and is located at Santan Village. For more information on the market and the vendors and how you can support, check out their Instagram and Facebook. In the studio, Milan Andrade, Cronkite News.
Finally tonight, scientists say a huge asteroid floating around our solar system could be worth more than the collective economies of our entire planet. That's right, I know what you're thinking. Really? It's a rock. But actually, scientists think asteroid 16 Psyche is a collection of mostly metals, mostly iron and nickel, and the sheer size of it, about the size of Massachusetts, that's led them to hypothesize it is worth, wait for it, $10 quintillion. Yes, that is a real number. And scientists think that Psyche could have been the core of what was once a planet, and they plan to set up an unmanned probe to study its composition before anyone on Earth gets any money-making ideas. Now that is it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Native Americans have faced many struggles throughout American history, and how can those struggles influence the way they vote today? We break it down coming up next.
Tomas, thank you so much for joining us. Let's break it down on Native Americans and their participation in this election. Start us off. In your opinion, why is it important for Native Americans to vote in this election?
Aaliyah, thank you for having me on here. I think it's important for Native people to participate in this election because there are a lot of things that are being challenged that are a continuation of things that we hold near and dear to us as Native people, which I would say land and the protection of land, as well as the safety of our community members, the health and safety of our community members. And so as people that hold very strong values for family and our connection to land and life itself, I think that when we look at the conversation of who's representing us in government and in positions of public service, we need to have people that understand the lifeways and indigenous teachings that this land saw for the first time as the original caretakers of this land. And so we need to not only have people that can represent us that may be non-Native, but we certainly need to get more Natives into those positions.
And I think we're seeing that play out firsthand. Arizona in particular has a population of about 5% of people who are Native American, a number of those people being people who are eligible to vote. Some things that I've seen in particular is that the Native American vote really cannot be ignored any longer. We have Arizona that is a swing state in this election, and I've seen a lot of candidates, both Native and non-Native, really trying to gain the Native vote because it is that important in this election. And we talk about values, we talk about the values of Native voters in particular. We've just been, well, actually, we're still going through this coronavirus pandemic, and we've seen that play out in a lot of Native communities disproportionately. In terms of health and COVID and the pandemic, what do you think are the values of Native people?
When we factor in what's happened to our Black relatives and the social political climate of this time, the tragedy that had happened to George Floyd and also Breonna Taylor, when we look at those circumstances and we think about how the current system is valuing life, I think that immediately does not line up with Indigenous values. I think this really activated a lot of people to participate. And when I say people, I think it's across the gamut of ages, but I certainly see a lot of my peers and younger people joining in to make sure that the voice of not only Indigenous people, but our Black relatives and other historically marginalized people are heard. And I think that when we look at the demographic of Arizona, which is my home state, actually, I'm very blessed to be here. I think of all the ways that we're starting to open up our eyes on how we mobilize people. And I think it definitely is tied to not only all the amazing work from our ancestors and the civil rights movement and also the collaboration of non-Natives, but when we look at these circumstances right now, We need to see the power of natives telling native stories. And when you incorporate that in your strategy, then you're really understanding and you're in touch with community so that you're inspiring people to vote for reasons not out of touch, but definitely in touch.
I've seen that as well. I think a lot of campaigns are saying we can't just go and say, let's go try to reach these Native voters. They're hiring people to create policies on behalf of Native communities. There are a lot of organizers out there, namely Native Americans, who are going out to the rural areas of the Navajo Nation, trying to get people to register, trying to make sure they have access to the polls or to drop their ballot off in the mail. I've seen a lot of this really spurred by social media, particularly young people saying, do you have a voting plan? What have you seen on social media in regards to Native people making sure that they're voting?
What I've seen on social media is calls to action that actually value the creative output of Native people. So I've seen things where there's like art contests to create art, to have people participate in the voting process, and they're compensated as they should be. And a lot of the times I've seen the criteria just be, say what you need to say. We just want to get more people to register to vote.
One of my favorite social media posts, well, one of my favorite kinds of social media posts has been, I've seen a lot of people post about their elders and taking photos of maybe their grandmas, their grandpas, their aunties and uncles sitting there and trying to, research candidates or drop off their ballot. And I think in that way, social media really allows young Native voters to learn and think about their elders and post stories about their elders. In a lot of Native communities, I think this idea of respecting your elders and understanding that community is at the forefront of really the livelihood of Native people is just so special. And so that's been one of my favorite parts in this election cycle, to just hear those stories and learn more about those people. Do you have any sort of favorite stories of people maybe trying to help others, or any other stories related to the election?
Sure, it's a bit of a personal story, but it relates, and I can see how it relates to other people. But when I was a little kid, we had a neighbor across the street. His name was Mr. Mitchell, and he was about 80 years old. And my mom would have me go over to his house and take him food. It was like tamales or tortillas. And I was like 4 years old, and she'd walk me over, and I'd be talking to him for a little bit. And then she's like, okay, I'm gonna leave you here for a little bit. I'll keep an eye on you. And she's like, 2 hours would pass by, and you're still talking to Mr. Mitchell. And I just remember some of my earliest moments of being in service of our elders, and that connection to kind of show that we are sacred throughout our entire life. And I've seen campaigns that talk about the sacredness of life and how even the process of voting is sacred. And it could be jarring for some people to look at it that way. And I try to understand things from all perspectives. But I think when we talk about the sacredness of life, that really puts us in a position to see what matters. And when I think of this relationship, the kinship that we have with our elders, it's very special. And it goes back and forth. It shows our youth that they are loved, that they are special. And it shows our elders that they are loved and they are special. And so to see that included in the messaging is really important, because what I've been taught by my elders is that it's always about the people. Like when we're questioning, when we're asking, why am I doing this? What's the purpose of this? It should be for the people. It should be for community. It should be for the preservation of the things that we hold dear and that make us feel good and celebrate the abundance in our lives.
Definitely. Tomas, Naitra, thank you so much for breaking it down on Native American voters, their values, and their participation in this election. Thanks so much.
Eloqua, thank you.
This hour of local news is made possible by contributions from the Friends of PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you. If you have comments about Arizona PBS News, please contact us at one of the addresses on your screen. Thank you. Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
Yupa's Thai Kitchen in Tempe features fresh, authentic Thai cuisine and vegetarian Thai dishes served in a homeland-style decor atmosphere. Open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Information at 480-839-0576. Friendship Village Tempe, a retirement community for over 30 years, offers independent living with residency options, lifelong learning classes, as well as continuing care. Information at friendshipvillageaz.com.
Deanne Griebel, now with Moores & Cabot Investments, serving investors since 1890, proudly supports quality programming on 8 Arizona PBS, 480-725-9602.
An historic election.
This is the most important election in our lifetime.
I feel so powerful, I'll walk into that audience.
A test for democracy.
The White House has really been transformed.
At a time like this,
a lot of enthusiasm.
A trusted voice.
A moment that's unlike any other.
Election 2020, a PBS NewsHour special.
Coming up next on Arizona PBS.
Arizona PBS deeply appreciates every gift we receive, and we are proud to honor our Executive Society. These supporters believe in the mission of public television and are making a real impact in our community. If you would like to join the Executive Society, please call the number below or log on to azpbs.org to join. Thank you.
Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
Arizona is leading the way in cutting-edge scientific research in our very own backyard. Join us on Catalyst, the show that explores new advancements, technologies, and innovations at Arizona State University that are shaping the future for tomorrow and beyond. Catalyst.
Wednesday night on Arizona PBS. Support for Arizona PBS comes from viewers like you and from
Heritage Reverse Mortgage, now offering refinancing on existing reverse mortgages. Refinancing may impact interest rates, closing costs, and customer access to equity funds. Consultation with a Heritage Mortgage Specialist is available at 888-379-9040.
AJ's Fine Foods, offering gourmet appetizers, fine wines for entertaining, and decadent desserts for all your special occasions. Find 10 Valley locations at ajsfinefoods.com. AJ's, purveyors of fine foods.
Hello, I'm Judy Woodruff. Welcome back to our special PBS NewsHour live election coverage. It is 8 p.m. in the East on this critical election day. There are a number of states now with polls closed. In fact, at the 8 o'clock hour, 16 states and the District of Columbia. Here now are the latest results we have, and a reminder we are relying on the Associated Press for our declaring these races one way or another. We are able to say President Trump, the winner in the state of Alabama, where the polls have just closed. That is a reliably red state, no surprise. Connecticut, Joe Biden, the winner in the state of Connecticut, the nutmeg state with its 7 electoral votes. Joe Biden also the winner in his home state of Delaware. That is 3 electoral votes in Joe Biden's column. Another state to call for Joe Biden, Illinois, 20 electoral votes. Not a surprise, but an important addition to the former vice president's election night tally. And in the state of Maryland, we can say that is a win for Joe Biden, the free state. This is a state Democrats are pretty much able to count on in modern presidential elections. A win for President Trump in Mississippi. They don't get much redder than Mississippi. And we're going to show you that visual in just a minute. No, we're going to stick with some states we're able to declare for former Vice President Biden. New Jersey. This is a state that Democrats have won the last several elections. It's in the Biden column this year. And another state, Oklahoma, the Sooner State. President Trump, this is a state that votes predictably Republican. Again, we don't ever say anything is predictable, but Oklahoma and its 7 electoral votes go to President Trump. Rhode Island, neighboring his home state of Delaware, Joe Biden, the winner. AP is declaring Joe Biden the winner in Rhode Island. And another win for President Trump in Tennessee with its 11 electoral votes, the volunteer state.